Waste refers to any material, substance, or object that is no longer wanted, needed, or useful and it is discarded. According to data gathered by the World Counts, every year we dump a massive 2.12 billion tons of waste on the planet. If all this waste was put on trucks, they would go around the world 24 times. These waste figures are so high because 99% of the stuff that we buy ends up in the bin within 6 months of purchasing it. What makes this problem even worse is that waste production continues to increase. It is estimated that global waste generation will increase by 70% by 2050, and this is due to two factors. The world's population keeps growing, and therefore more people will generate more waste, but also the waste production per person is increasing every year. Think about it for a few minutes. How often can you go to a shop and buy a t-shirt for 5 or 7 euros? How often do you buy something, use it once and then throw it in the bin? Think about your daily activities, buying bottles of water, takeaway drinks, shopping for food. All this consumption is generating waste each time. Last week I threw a party and I bought a multi-pack of Kinder Bueno bars. When I go back home and open the pack, I couldn't ignore how much packaging was in this one item. The packet was wrapped in a plastic layer. Inside that, each of the 4 bars had its own plastic wrapper, and inside each bar, the 2 Kinder Bueno sticks were also individually wrapped. If you think about this as buying just one item for one person on a given day, but multiply that by everyone else in the planet buying maybe 5 items a day every day for a year, the figures will help you understand the waste problem that we're facing. Let's start with plastic waste. 8.3 billion metric tons of plastic has been made from 1950 until 2015. This is equivalent to the weight of 1 billion elephants. But the worst is that only 30% of the plastic created is still in use. The rest has been disposed of in 3 ways. 79% is in our landfills or the environment, 12% has been incinerated, and only 9% has been recycled. What really got me thinking is that half of the amount of plastic generated since 1950 was made in the last 13 years. Plastic is time and time again mismanaged and often becomes litter in the streets or in our natural environment. And unlike other materials, it doesn't biodegrade. It can take up to 1,000 years for plastic to break down, dependent on what type of plastic it is. Why has our production increased so exponentially without anyone really making any effort to highlight and change this? I consider myself now part of the plastic generation. Throughout generations, we have allowed plastic use to increase by increasing our own purchases of single-use plastics. And here is where we consumers have a choice to stop purchasing single-use plastics. Now let's look at food waste. It is estimated that we waste about 1/3 of all the food that we produce for human consumption. That's an enormous amount of food. Producing food requires a huge environmental effort. Land that has been deforested, species that have been driven to extinction, indigenous populations that have been made homeless or uprooted, soil that has been degraded and a huge amount of water used, all to produce food that we just then throw away. Unfortunately, this is the reality of the food waste problem we have worldwide. These are facts. It is hard for us to understand the devastating effects that food waste has on the environment because we can't see it with our own eyes. Another devastating effect of food waste is that when most of it ends up in our landfills, it decomposes without access to oxygen and creates methane, which is a greenhouse gas 28 times stronger than carbon dioxide over a 100-year period. In every which way we look at it, food waste is a major destroyer of our planet. And if food waste were a country, it would be the 3rd largest emitter of greenhouse gases after China and the USA. So how about e-waste? The UN defines e-waste as any discarded product with a battery or a plug, as it features toxic substances such as mercury that can pose severe risks to human and environmental health. When e-waste is exposed to heat, toxic chemicals are released into the air, polluting the air we breathe. Those toxic materials can also then seep into the groundwater, affecting both land and sea animals. As a first step, it is important to only dispose of e-waste in dedicated sites that can handle it and treat it properly. We all have phones, tablets, laptops, computers, a lot of devices. A very simple action to reduce e-waste is not to purchase new devices. We can fix our old devices or even buy second-hand ones that have been repaired. For example, the company Repeat has pioneered a subscription service for its modular headphones. The modular design allows 85% of components to be reused. Products use durable, standardized designs, meaning fewer virgin materials are used to create new headphones. So how is Ireland dealing with waste? The Environmental Protection Agency, the National Transfrontier Shipment Office, the National Waste Collection Permit Office and local authorities are responsible for regulating the largely privatised waste industry in Ireland. It has been reported that we are currently off track to meet mandatory EU recycling targets set to apply from 2025 for household waste, packaging waste and plastic waste. Just under 28% of plastic packaging generated in Ireland was recycled in 2021, with the remainder being treated by incineration. In 2022, the Irish government released a Waste Action Plan for a Circular Economy, which is essentially a new roadmap for waste planning and management in Ireland. This plan shifts focus away from waste disposal and looks instead at how we can preserve resources by creating a circular economy. In 2022, Ireland became the first country to impose a plastic bag levy. It led to a 90% drop in use of plastic bags, with 1 billion fewer bags used, and it generated 9.6 million for a green fund supporting environmental projects. A very important step in our fight against waste is to segregate it properly so we can reduce the environmental impact of each type of waste if it is separated and treated differently. In the recycling bin, remember that everything must be clean and dry. We can put paper, cardboard, food tins, cans and plastic. In the organic bin, you should use a compostable bag. You can put in coffee grounds and filters, cooked and raw foods, eggs, fruits and vegetables peelings, tea leaves and tea bags, meat, bones and fish, hedge clippings, twigs and branches, leaves, plants, etc. from your garden. In the glass bin, we can put in glass bottles and glass jars. What cannot go into the bin? It's window glass, light bulbs, ceramics, leads, bottle tops and corks. In the landfill or general waste bin, we can put in nappies, soil food packaging, bathroom waste, animal waste, aerosols, cold ashes from the fire, fast food cup lids, black plastic bags and used candles. If the following items are found in any of your bins, they will be marked as contaminated: rocks and bricks, batteries, electrical items, metals, oils, paints, wax and liquids, or hazardous or medical waste. So here are some tips to reduce plastic. Purchase items in bulk whenever possible to reduce packaging. Support local farmers' markets and stores that use minimal packaging. Refuse single-use plastics like straws, utensils, or disposable water bottles. Consider making your own household cleaners, beauty products, and even some foods like sauces and condiments. Reduce online shopping as it can generate a lot of packaging. When you can't avoid packaging, always choose the eco-friendliest option, such as cardboard or glass. And here are some tips to reduce food waste. Before you go to the grocery shop, plan your meals for the week. Make a list of ingredients and stick to it. Be mindful when shopping for groceries. Purchase perishable items in smaller quantities, especially if you don't consume them quickly. Familiarize yourself with the difference between sell-by, use-by, and best-by dates. Reorganize your fridge. Move older items to the front of the fridge and place newer items behind them. Store fruits and vegetables in the drawers of the fridge to prevent spoilage due to contamination. If you can't use certain foods before they go bad, you can freeze them. Reduce portions. Serve smaller portions to start and let people ask for more if they're still hungry. Find creative ways to use leftover food. And educate yourself about food storage, preservation methods and ways to prevent food waste. And you could also encourage friends and family to reduce their food waste by sharing your knowledge and experiences. What would be great that you take away from today is that when it comes to managing waste, it does not mean recycling more. In fact, recycling is the last resort. We need to start implementing ways to produce less waste every day from our lives. So, what's the solution? The solution is adopting circular economy principles. Reducing our waste production will allow us to improve on the following Sustainable Development Goals: zero hunger, good health and well being, clean water and sanitation, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, and life on land. We have come to the end of this lesson. I would like to encourage you to complete the activities on this lesson's workbook.